I was like, are you serious that those are your receipts? And I thought the same thing. I was like, don't you know Excel? Like, don't you know Google Sheets? Like something like that. But then the way they kept going in, I was like, okay, then this is when you go, okay, girl, let's organize this up. This is when you go, can we help you? Because like this like seems to be a little scattered here. Like, how can we help you?
They weren't listening to her. She was like, and this says this, and they were still laughing.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah. They didn't care at that point.
No. Oh, no.
Right. I'm sure they've heard it like a dozen times already.
Yeah.
So I think
my thought watching it is like, this sounds like something Jordan would do. Like, I know you're an organized person, but I could totally see you just having crumpled pieces of paper all over the place with like numbers on them. We gonna stir it up and do things our way. So if you wanna move, get out of
our way. Hey.
Happy Monday.
Hi.
AI Nate is back.
Yeah. Better than the real thing.
I don't know about that, but oh well. We're happy. No matter what.
Oh,
the public is happy.
Sweet of you
to
say.
We're all alive. We're all thriving-ish.
I don't know if I'm either of those
Emphasis
two things,
on the ish.
Yeah, ish. Absolutely.
The ish. Well, we're still in London, though.
Yeah.
London.
Cheerio. Top of the morning, mateys.
Stop it. Stop.
So close. I remember saying, like 4 or 5 episodes into this season, like saying to you guys, probably said on the recording, being like, you guys tell me how bad Tamra is, but like through 4 episodes, she doesn't seem that bad. My God, now I see it. She's like the worst person ever. And I like have an entire list of just all the awful things she did this episode. And I'm trying, like, is this like a kayfabe thing, or is she just legitimately a monster? Like, is she doing this for TV, or is she honestly that bad a person?
She truly invented the Housewives villain role. It was a different show before she joined. So when you see all the awful, diabolical backstabbers of Housewives, she is their queen. She's their mother.
Right. But like, I mean, on the show, she can do that. Hell, even when she goes on like Watch What Happened, she can act that way. But are there people that know her completely outside the show? They're like, she's actually not, she's doing this for TV.
Well, let's just say this. One of her daughters does not speak to her, as we've talked about before, yeah. Sydney, and Sydney's made like very loud pronouncements about that. So I just kind of take that. I mean, her ex-husband, Simon, whatever, like that's that. But like the stuff her daughter says kind of, that's very clear bell.
Her daughter in her recent public statement about being brought up on the show again was that her mother cares more about the show than she does about her family. So I guess it is all consuming. Because some can, it's a character they play.
Yeah. That's why I say kayfabe, like, the wrestling term. Like, you just don't know where the real person ends and the character begins. Because I've never seen, because like I said, even when she's on with Andy, she can still be awful because everybody's like, oh, yeah, she's still playing the character.
Yeah.
Well, look at what just happened this past week, too, with her on social media and on her podcast. I mean, I don't think we're going to get into it because I don't necessarily want to dive into that and wade into that. But with her claims that after one therapy session, her first therapy session, that she'd been diagnosed with autism, and she goes on her podcast. And truly, I mean, I saw that and then I sent it to a couple of people I know who either A, they have autism, or B, they have family members, i.e. like children with autism. And I was like, what are your thoughts on this? And they gave me their thoughts, because I was like, I have my own opinions and my own thoughts, which I am going to keep to myself as a person without a dog in this fight. You know what I mean? And they were very much like a lot of the people. I feel like a lot of the people from the autism community came out and gave their opinions about Tamra and were like, excuse me, no.
Well, there also, I noticed a lot of people on Twitter who were therapists and were like, hey, therapist here, we can't do that. We can't, we can say, oh, you're showing signs, maybe you should get tested, but we can't,
Mhm.
certainly after one appointment, and we're not allowed to diagnose you in the first place.
Mhm.
Mm.
And that was like
And
one of
she-
my things. I was like, I feel like maybe this therapist said something to the effect of, maybe you should look at this. Maybe there's a little neurodivergency. Like maybe we should talk about these things. And then, but Tamra in her fucked up mind was like, I can run with this. She's over here calling Shannon playing a victim game, whereas like she's actually playing a victim game. This season went really horrible for me. The reunion went horrible for me, which we still haven't seen yet, but it probably did not go well for her because probably everybody except for Heather ganged up on her. And they were just like, and she's like, I have to save this. So how do I save this? Oh, I save it by doing this.
There are people out there who are saying like this has to be her last season. This is no.
I don't think so.
She's absolutely made this.
Well, that
You need
even
a
when
horrible person moving the show along.
even when I call her a monster, that's why I'm curious if it's a character or real, because she has no storylines, like actual storyline this year. She's just a monster to everybody else, which is good television. But like, what storyline does she have outside of like how mean she is to everybody else?
Well, like they let her go for a few seasons and it was very boring and they brought her back. Her job is to stir the pot. Literally, she was what they called her, the first one, the pot stirrer. And so she moves it forward. I mean, honestly, think about if Tamra wasn't on this season. It would have been Shannon had her DUI, and it would have been 18 episodes of Shannon doing beach yoga and therapy, Emily trying to get Shane to go to the gym with her. I mean, Tamra was like, I see material here. Let's make it come to life.
Yeah.
So
I agree, but I also disagree with you because it could have turned into Shannon being a villain, because Gina could have come after her hard and been like, I don't think that you're really repentant. This was terrible because of how you treated me last year. It could have been very different for her. However, it could have been what you were talking about. But I had a thought, I think we all have some of our best thoughts when we're either on the toilet or in the shower. And this was a shower moment for me. Yeah. Or both.
Or at the same time. Yeah. I don't know. You lead your life any way you want. What? You can, I said, you lead your life however you want. If you want to do both, whatever.
No, thank you. I'm not a toddler in the bathtub. Anyway, so I was in the shower and I was like, wait a minute. I mean, it could obviously be wrong. We love to theorize on the show, but like, I just have a feeling that like, in a lot of ways, maybe in some ways, Tamra's getting ahead of herself. We're like, yes, she's a great pot stirrer. She's a great villain. We kind of need her to play that role. But she's almost like trying to like punch above her weight. And like, maybe she's like, you know what? Maybe it's time for Shannon to go for a few seasons. We kind of got rid of Vicky. They got rid of me for a few years. Heather left and Heather came back. I'm back now. I should be the top dog. It shouldn't be Shannon. And if I can rope Heather in and I can get Heather on my side, then we can get Shannon out. We can prove that like Shannon's not really that strong and Shannon's this. Like, if I can beat down Shannon enough, if I can beat down all these other girls too, I can be the top dog. Even though I don't have a storyline, I can just bully my way to the top.
I guess I'm going to speak out a little. I always am like trying to filter, but a producer on the show did tell me that he thinks this is Shannon's peak, not necessarily her show. I mean, not necessarily this is her last season. He did not mean that, but he meant this season will probably be the best of her career as far as they don't see her for spinoffs and things like that. Like Shannon, it is her prime right now. And this is basically where, So like, I mean, I don't know. I have to check. Has she let those like lemon supplements go and stuff? But he's like, this is what she's good for. And this is her best season, but this is her career. She's not going to get a spinoff, or she's not going to carry her own show. This is it.
Honestly, none of these housewives are going to ever carry their own show. They kind of can't. They always need an ensemble to play off of.
Well, like Kim Zolciak got her own, things that Bethany got her own. She she's not going to have Shannon. Well, she's doing the spinoff as, like you said, an ensemble, Love Hotel or whatever. But she's not going to get storming with the Beadors.
Yeah. Well, like Bethany's only lasted a couple of seasons, and also like that really wasn't an ensemble. Do you know what I mean? It was like her getting married and then her like having her baby, and then obviously like with that relationship and everything, blah, whatever. And then Kim Zolciak, that was her family. So her family was the ensemble. So, you know, it was all of that. But yeah, but no, I agree. I mean,
what I meant is Shannon's not getting her own show. She's not, Bravo doesn't see her as, like, she's at the top of her game right now. But they don't see that peak being enough to say Shannon gets her own, keeping, you know, Bethany so this is it for her.
I would watch a show that's like a Selling Sunset $1 Million Listing, but it's Gina, but it just highlights how terrible Gina is as a real estate agent. It's like the reverse. It's the reverse of $1 Million Listing, because she can't. We haven't focused on how bad she is lately, because maybe they were like, let's not show that as much.
Yeah, I think they probably feel bad for her. She posts little on Instagram. We should get in the episode, by the way. But she posts on Instagram, always putting up a sold sign. So I'll give her that. She knew she has a career. She can't retire off this show. She is too, like Tamra says in this episode, I'm looking at my retirement. Gina has a lifetime and kids to raise ahead of her. So she's like, I gotta get something else out of this show besides a Bravo chat.
I will say this. I would watch a crappy Lake-ish type of show with Shannon and Luann. Because I think that would be kind of fun. Two different coasts, two different franchises, two different lushes on, you know, two different styles of lush. I mean, as much as I love like Sonia and Luann together, obviously there's a reason that shouldn't come back. But if it was something that it's like Shannon and Luann, I'd be like, well, that would be interesting. Be very interesting. Yeah. I mean, I would love to see like a Shannon and Heather, but obviously they can't do that because they hate each other. So
yeah, you need someone strong, because I was gonna say Shannon and Sonia probably are more compatible, but they're
too much alike.
Right. I was gonna be like, they're too weak. You need someone strong. Luann can drive. Yeah, they just fall apart. It would be like Grey Gardens. Just those two laying in bed with drinks and raccoons.
Oh man. Well, you know, the episode starts with like on all the ladies, like different places. Katie and Tamra in the spa area. And of course, like Tamra has to be like, oh, I have one of these. It's a sex chair. And I was like, if that was coming from anybody else, I would have been okay. But for some reason from Tamra, I'm just like, no, I don't want to hear it.
Took me back to the famous bathtub scene where she's letting you know her and Eddie are in love.
Well, basically, that was trying to say that Eddie's not gay from when Vicky was.
She's had that. Shannon, though, so basically they open and everyone's in their respective rooms doing their things, kind of recapping the night before, which was the birthday dinner. And Shannon said the Housewives kiss of death. She said she just wanted that dinner to be a fun night with the girls. Famous last words. That is exactly what happens. She got the fun night for the viewers that we always get when a housewife says that.
It's not even like, I noticed watching Beverly Hills this year that the show, you know, it's the show hits every episode hits the same notes, where it's a build up to a dinner or something where there's a blowout fight. These women they argue everywhere, whether they're on a bus tour. Like the only scene I can think of in London where they have not gotten into an argument is on that boat. And that's because they were just all screaming because they couldn't hear each other on the boat. Like I wouldn't want to go anywhere with these women because a fight breaks out just at any moment. They're exhausting.
They're the originals, though.
Yeah, I get. No, it's good TV, but I just wouldn't want to hang out with them.
No. Well, while Katie and Tamra are sitting there talking, I think because they're talking about money, of course, and Tamra says, you know, why would Shannon get a facelift if money was problem? Or maybe Katie said that, but Tamra's like, she always spends beyond her means and everything like that.
Yes.
And I'm kind of like, yes, but it's like, why would she do that? Why would she do that? I was like, oh, well, I can think of several reasons. She's on a national television show. She's getting older. people are commenting on her looks. And also there's something going on in a relationship and she thinks that she has to keep her man. So maybe she feels like she has to get plastic surgery. Those are some very like valid reasons why she would go into debt to get a facelift, to be like this is America, people. Come on.
I said, first of all, my one thought with that, her criticizing her getting a facelift, because that's stupid. We just saw a few weeks ago Tamra's facelift reveal, and we've talked about on this podcast the expense and maintenance that goes into being a housewife. You spend a lot to keep up your looks, to qualify for the next season. It's a business expense. The only thing is that surprised me is so many housewives do it. And if you're on Instagram and you see a housewife showing her latest facial, a post with a picture of her plastic surgeon, anything like that, they got the surgery for free. And that's like common and available to housewives. So I'm just surprised Shannon paid cash, because she could have arranged an Instagram deal.
Well, maybe though she didn't want the Instagram deal surgeon though. Do you know what I mean?
No, but there are some like prominent ones who will do it. Like Nassif will do it. I mean, Paul Nassif. What I'm saying it like she was. I don't know who did hers. I guess it's private, but
yeah,
there's a lot available for. Look, Tamra. She took us on her journey.
That's a taste thing. I think it just depends. Like you get to decide who you feel like you should use as your surgeon. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I feel like if you're a person who wants a deal, you go find somebody with a deal. If you're a person who wants to like use a surgeon that you trust and you're willing to pay for it, then you use a surgeon that you trust.
I'm not talking about Groupons. I'm talking about like Paul Nassif and Beverly Hills surgeons.
I absolutely get what you're saying, but maybe she doesn't like Nassif's work. Like, I'm just saying. I'm not saying that Nassif's work is bad. I'm just saying.
But I mean, that's where I kind of agree with Tamra and Katie, where I'm like, why you don't have this $75,000? It's available for free. So I get why they're questioning her financial decision.
Well, maybe Paul doesn't do a good job. I mean, 2 episodes back, when Terry got his nose done, and Heather's like, well, why don't you use Paul? He's going to be upset that you're not using him. And Terry, they didn't really explain why he didn't use him. So maybe he's just not very good.
That one I remember from Dr. 90210 back in the day when Nassif was on it, and then Beverly Hills, because someone asked Adrienne, does your husband do all your work? You're so lucky to be married. She was like, no, he doesn't want to do it on people close to him.
That makes sense.
There's a risk.
I was going to comment like, well, Heather already has her own plastic surgeon. I'm like, oh, I bet he doesn't want to do that.
No, you don't.
Especially if there's a fuck up, that's not going to be good.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. I also had a thought too. I was like, didn't Vicky get her facelift when she was dating Brooks? Like,
she's had a few.
But at least her first one, like her first like kind of big one when she got it done too close to like filming starting again. I feel like she was with Brooks. And so sometimes like you get plastic surgery when you're not feeling good about your relationship at times. I'm not saying always, but I'm saying sometimes, and it's not necessarily a conscious thing. It's kind of subconscious. It's like, well, something's not going on right in my relationship. I'm not feeling, oh, maybe it's time I do this, or maybe blah, blah, blah.
I don't think that the way they spell it out in the lawsuit, they weren't together when Shannon and John, they were in that downturn of where they were just friends. He claims in the lawsuit the relationship ended in 22 and the facelift happened in 23 when they were just, I don't know, friends with benefits, but I don't know. Who knows?
I'm sorry. How many women have been in situationships with men who they were just friends with benefits, but hello, you spent almost every night with him. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like that's a relationship. I call shenanigans on that right there. Like he might have said, we're not boyfriend, girlfriend, but he was still spending half of his time over at her place and vice versa. So, yeah, anyway, let's move on. Cause we were like talking about stuff.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say like when Heather came in that morning to talk to Shannon, she like came in to talk to Shannon. Like Shannon was a toddler who didn't speak English. she was so condescending and loud. It was like, now I didn't like how things went down last night. Can we talk about this?
I'll bet you her producer got a call from Shannon's producer saying Shannon's ready. This would be a great moment. And then Heather's like, fine, fuck you. Hey, little Shannon, I'm here. Like, that it was total. The way she walked in is like she didn't want. She's like, we're gonna get through this. You interrupted my FaceTime with Terry. Anyways, so like.
Well, we did up top. We did get the funniest scene from the show where Shannon unveiled her receipts. Her little that was the way Heather and Emily were just dying was very funny. Like her receipts were just crumpled pieces of paper. And I don't remember if it was Emily or Heather said like, "Do you know what Excel is?"
I know but this is my thing. It was funny at first, but then the way they kept laughing then became a little Mean Girls-ish to me. Because I was like, because there's a part that was like, I was like, are you serious that those are your receipts? And I thought the same thing. I was like, don't you know Excel? Like, don't you know Google Sheets? Like something like that. But then the way they kept going in, I was like, okay, then this is when you go, okay, girl, let's organize this up. This is when you go, can we help you? Because like this like seems to be a little scattered here. Like, how can we help you?
They weren't even listening. They weren't listening to her. She was like, and this says this, and they were still laughing.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah. They didn't care at that point.
No. Oh, no.
Right. I'm sure they've heard it like a dozen times already.
Yeah.
So I think
my thought watching it is like, this sounds like something Jordan would do. Like, I know you're an organized person, but I could totally see you just having crumpled pieces of paper all over the place with like numbers on them.
Oh yeah. I am. Now what I do, which she should do, is just organize them in notes.
A little black book.
Yeah. Something, or like even your phone notes. I mean, because you're going to save them to the cloud, because you're going to lose your little mishmash of scribbled grandma notes.
I know.
Like in the bottom of your purse with your hard candy. So like that's why I think Heather was laughing.
Oh my gosh. No, it's true. It's true. Yeah. And then then Gina and also Jenn were talking in the other part of the spa with the pool. And I thought it like a light bulb really seemed to go off in Jen's head when Gina told Jenn about the receipt that Shannon found about, the Alexis text of like, we're going to sue you, and how she had sent it to Tamra, but Tamra hadn't said anything to anybody. And that really seemed to set a bigger light bulb off in Jen's head of like, why hasn't she said anything to anybody? And it was just almost like this domino falling, to me at least, that Jenn is like, you know what? Everything, like, it seems to be like what happens at the end of the episode. That was just finally the straw that broke the camel's back, or was almost like the last puzzle piece, like coming together for Jenn to like finally. I almost wish this episode was called Mount St. Jennifer, because the way she finally explodes on Tamra.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
But yeah, it was just like domino after domino falling for Jenn in her realization of how long she's been hoodwinked by her quote unquote friendship with Tamra. That this person isn't looking out for you with her tough love or anything like that. That it's just, she's always looking out for herself and is always going to like manipulate things to look better for her or for her storyline or narrative at the expense of other people. I mean, it's one thing to like do it like, yeah, we're making the storyline happen, but when it's at the expense of somebody else over and over again, which is what it seems to be this season.
You know what I guess it was Heather who caught it. She thinks like we do here on PCP. We pointed this out last week. Found Jenn Pedranti's $2,000 Dolce & Gabbana dress. It's a little more than $2,000 though. But I don't think Heather can gauge. Heather doesn't think in thousands. She's like, she doesn't think in single thousands. But yeah, it got brought up. And I think that too is where it clicked with Jenn. These girls, Heather and Tam. Why would Heather call Tamra first? Because obviously when Heather tries to claim it was out of concern for her with her limited budget and stuff. Okay, so you call Emily or Gina or someone else on a budget. You don't call Tamra if you're truly concerned about a person's well-being.
They kept saying, so is the $6,000 they kept bringing up, is that the spousal support, child support combined?
Child support.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they keep bringing that up. Like, why are you buying a $2,000 dress when you only get $6,000 a month? And then it was like, oh, Ryan's probably paying it. In reality, Shohei Ohtani bought her that dress. Like, she's Jenn this entire season. Anytime, and they're like, oh, they go to the Bahamas, they go to Vegas every other week. Yeah, that's on Shohei Ohtani's dime. He doesn't know it, but
yeah,
he's buying. He just bought her a dress. Very kind of him. Very kind.
Well, this is my question, because you've been gone, and granted, it'll come up a little bit more. How much do you think that Ryan knew that Ohtani's money was being stolen from him?
I don't know how much you got into it, but the money was being sent directly to Ryan. So he knew, like, you know, so Ipe, the assistant interpreter that was stealing the money, was placing bets with Ryan's friend, Matt Boyer. But his losses, Ipe was not paying Matt. He was sending the money to, in the indictment, it actually says associate number 1. That's Ryan. So he was sending it to Ryan's account, and then Ryan would deposit it into these accounts with the casinos, these marker accounts. So Ryan had to know, and I mean, you'd have to be pretty dumb to be like, okay, all this money's coming in, but I don't know where it's coming from. So he had to have known something.
Was the money being wired from Shohei's account to Ryan, or Shohei to the book, Shohei to the interpreter to Ryan? It's like a money laundering.
You know, it's exactly. So the way it went is that Shohei didn't know anything. It was outside of him. Ipe, his interpreter, who's not just his interpreter. They keep saying that because you're like, why would an interpreter have access to all this? He's Shohei's right-hand person. Like they would say it's his best friend, it's his interpreter. He helped Shohei open all his US bank accounts because Shohei he speaks English now, but like he did not have when he plays in Los Angeles now, Shohei, but he played for the Angels for the previous 6 years. So he was down in Orange County. Ipe helped him open all these accounts. So he had the access to take the money out. And so he had evidently a very big gambling problem. He would place bets with Matthew Boyer, the bookie, and then he would wire money from Shohei's account to Ryan's account. I don't know what, probably wasn't like Ryan's personal account, but he would send it directly to him, and then Ryan and Matt would get together and take that money and deposit it directly into casino accounts. So it will, and then Matt and Ryan would take those casino. It was specifically 2 casinos. It was Resorts World, Las Vegas, and it was Pechanga in LA, or in down there. So they would deposit that money into the casinos, and then that's why Ryan and Matt were always going to the Bahamas and to Vegas. They would go to those casinos, and in order for them to launder the money, they would use that money to gamble. So it'd be sent to Ryan. Ryan would put it in an account at the casino. Then Ryan and Matt would go gamble it, and they'd take the winnings and cash out. So it is money laundering. In fact, like Ipe has already pled guilty to it, and he hasn't been sentenced yet, but he's probably going to jail for, I think, around, they said a minimum 30 years, something like that. And Matthew Boyer, the bookie friend, also pled guilty to gambling and money laundering, and he's going to prison for, they said, I don't think he's been sentenced yet. He's going between 30 and 37 months. So I don't know how much, this won't all make it to the show because it's all more recent. But the craziest thing is Ryan got full immunity. He's not going to go, he's not getting in trouble. So on top of being like a launderer and a criminal, he's also a snitch. So he's like the worst, just the worst.
Well, that's what I kind of said like I didn't call him a snitch, but that's what I said a couple weeks ago. Is I said, the big fish they wanted to get was the interpreter / assistant, Ipe, because he's the one actually stealing the money.
Yeah.
Because he's the one stealing the money, and they are just like,
And it was
pawns in this thing.
They said Ipe in total probably stole about 17 million from Shohei, which Shohei makes so much money that honestly it's possible that he didn't notice. He just signed a $700 million contract with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And for a while, people thought that Ipe that Ipe was taking the fall. They thought it was Shohei that was gambling all this money, which is like the cardinal sin of athletics. You cannot be an athlete betting on sports. But the fact that Ipe pled guilty and is going to prison for 30 years, that's not something you do for a friend. But yeah, but they said that what? Like,
and when you already have $700 million,
I love you both. I'm not going to prison for 30 years for either of you. I'm sorry. But they said, so Ipe in total said that he probably stole about 17 million from Shohei, but they only think about 4.5 million of that went through Matthew, which is still a ton of money. But it wasn't all of it. Like, he was not the only bookie being used, but still $4.5 million through Ryan and Matthew. That's quite a bit of money. But it was in small increment. Like, one specific bet was like $500,000 was wired like in June of 2023. So it wasn't like all this money at once, but that's exactly why Ryan, Ryan and Jenn are always going to Vegas. I mean, I don't know what Jenn knows, but she does seem very confused whenever anybody asks her what Ryan does. And she has to know, like, why do we go to Vegas so much? She has, who knows what she knew, but it would be confusing to be like, why are we always traveling between the Bahamas, Vegas, Pachanga? Like, I don't know.
I did get a little excited. It must have been large sums because they mentioned that the casino sent the jet, which they only do for what they're called whales.
Yeah.
Like the dropping. I'm almost like, only 4.5 million got them that many trips on the jet. Like, because they said it was like every other week. I mean, I'm sure that's exaggeration, but it's like, yeah, they were moving stacks.
Oh yeah, and the casino,
they were moving stacks.
The way those casinos work, they were probably like, these two random guys sure seem to be depositing a lot of money. They're probably laundering money, but a lot of our clientele is laundering money, so we're just not going to say anything. We're good.
Questions only lead to answers.
Questions only lead to answers. Exactly.
On this bus ride, though, I mean, it was messy. It was all over the place. And I mean, they started turning on Heather, questioning Heather, which doesn't go too well. What?
I was fine with
it.
That.
Doesn't. It is very, like I said a few of it. She is the Lisa Vanderpump of Orange County, and that's what makes her special in Orange County. But remember how Lisa Vanderpump took being questioned or critiqued. Not well. Not well.
Not well at all.
And
Not
so
well,
they're
bitch.
going into this. Reminded me. So it was Heather. They're questioning Heather about the authenticity of her mammogram, her emotional response to the mammogram, and also why she would call Tamra about this dress. Remember, she's like, "Oh, I was worried about you," and it reminded me of the whole thing with Brandy Glanville, Lisa Vanderpump, and Kyle in Palm Springs with the magazine cover.
Oh yeah.
It was like, they're like, Heather's trying to act like, "Oh no, I was concerned," and they're like, "No, you were trying to keep your hands clean." She was handing it off. She was handing the dress info off to Tamra the way LVP would hand info off to Brandy. Like, let it go while I sit back on my throne.
Yep.
So I caught that. I mean, I love Heather Dubrow, but she's not innocent.
Well, and also, like, I think they were kind of right. I mean, I felt Gina was very pointed in being like, yo, you sent this text to all of us not wanting to talk about your family history of mammograms. And then you get upset. And she's like, and I understand how 4 women in a room talking about the results and nobody asks you about it. She's like, we all get that. So we understand that. But now you're saying that, like, that was different than what you would send us, like, how are we supposed to know these things? Like,
Mhm.
she was like, I'm just trying to figure out how to be a good friend to you. Like, you want me to be a better friend? And
Yeah.
I totally got what Gina was saying. There's just like, there's different rules for you than there are for me. And
Yeah.
I'm understanding that now, Heather, basically is what she's going. You're not my friend unless you need something from me.
Yeah, she brought up that Heather can hold a grudge for eternity, but Heather will tell you when you can be upset and for how long and when it's over for you. Which is true.
And
Because I also
Tamra,
feel that Heather kind of has forgiven Katie a little bit as long as she is against Shannon.
Mm.
Is what I've noticed on this trip, because during the shopping, there it's Katie, Tamra, and Shannon. I mean, Katie, Tamra, and Heather. I was like, I'm
Mm.
very surprised at that, but it's like, as long as Katie can kind of like be team Heather, I can't even say their names right, Heather and Tamra, because it's so unnatural in my mouth to say their names together. But like, as long as she can kind of like be on their team and agree with whatever they're saying, then Heather's okay with her right now.
Yeah.
the other, I mean, it was not plot related, but it was just kind of jarring is when they were, I mean, somehow Gina just broke into talking about Travis's balls, which was odd, which is, sorry, I don't want to make Jordan uncomfortable, but her quote was just very weird. She said, everyone thinks he has a small dick because his balls are enormous. And I heard that, I'm like, who thinks that? Is this
Who's
come up
seen
before?
this stuff?
Yes,
Yeah,
Is
it
she
is.
showing
okay.
pictures?
Like,
It
yeah, I
came
mean,
up like
everyone.
yeah,
it
the
came
way
up like
she
a couple of seasons ago,
Oh,
like
okay,
that
'cause the way
that there was I forget exactly, but they were talking about the boyfriend's like dick sizes or something, because it came up something about like John Jansen had like a big dick, and then there was talk about like somebody was basically trying to insult Gina and saying that Travis had a small dick. Well, I heard Travis had a small dick or whatever.
I figured it was.
He doesn't have a small dick. He just has really big balls.
Like I figured it had to be for just the way she said, well, everybody thinks this. And of course I'm like listening to this thinking, man, Travis has to be pissed off. He's watching this episode for the first time, supporting Gina. He's like, what the hell? Why am I taking strays? I'm taking strays here? Because it was unrelated
she's
to anything.
defending her man's honor.
It came up because they were going to like a shaving, like I don't even remember how it came up. It was completely unrelated.
I don't know.
It's very funny though.
Men will bring up their balls in inopportune times, so why can't women?
I guess. I guess.
Anyway,
I just thought it was very funny.
Yeah. They did some shopping. They got old timey pictures taken.
That was random.
I know. It's all like, I mean, this is in again, in a lot of ways, this is just like a filler episode. They go, I mean, I think we just skipped to dinner, like to the dinner that night, at the restaurant, because this is where they talk about more stuff.
This is where Jenn Pedranti gets activated. I mean, she's had all day. It's fun watching her this episode, because she is, I don't think she's stupid. The other women like to portray her as stupid, but she just is willing to let a lot go. And at that moment, you see it building up through the episode quietly, things connecting in her brain. Things are making sense to her. And like, the housewife spirit is within her now. And she's like, oh, I'm getting played. And it's like,
yeah. Because they bring up the dress. The dress is brought up, the $2,000 Dolce dress.
Yeah.
And Jenn is right. Like she's basically like, well, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. Y'all made fun of me all last season for wearing fake, Balenciaga, fake Chanel, fake this, fake that. So this season, I'm not doing that. And I'm trying to wear like real stuff. And now it's like terrible because I have no money. So why am I doing that? So she's like, I'm fucked either way. Fuck you guys. Like, I'm not paying for it. Ryan's paying for it. If you don't believe you should be like, I'm just going to deal with that or whatever. I mean, and she's absolutely 100% right. She is damned if she does and damned if she doesn't. And that's by not only the other housewives and by the fans too.
Right. We don't want to see broke housewives. I'm
No.
fine with her. I'm fine with with Ryan paying for it. Like, we don't question that with other women.
Well,
We
honestly, that makes her a real housewife. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
Like, she's the only one being almost 100% supported by her man, like on this cast and in the franchises almost. Like, she's one of the few ones being supported. Let's forget about the housewives, salary that she's receiving. Like, she's supported by her man. And I think a lot of them, especially Tamra, is very upset about that. Tamra's very triggered that she has yet, like, yeah, Eddie is hot and younger than her, but Eddie ain't supporting her ass. Not like Simon was supporting her ass when they were married together. Like, no, she is not being supported 100%. She's not supported like Terry supports Heather. She's not supported like Ryan. Like, Tamra's pissed,
I'm so glad Vicky's not on this trip, because no one was more triggered by a woman with a supportive husband or boyfriend than Vicky Gunvalson. So she get a job, you guys have watched, the whole thing. So yeah, I mean, Tamra's sliding back if she's good. Tamra, I caught Tamra a couple of times saying Vicky-isms this episode.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, I mean, like later on when she was like, I've never had a private investigator or run a background check in my entire life. And I was like, I have never had multiple partners in my entire life. Like, that exact same thing. I was like, that ran through my head. That's Vicky yelled that on a mountaintop at Lori one time. But yeah. And then it's so interesting because really most of the table actually came after Tamra, not in a super aggressive way, but it was just like, yo, we're not putting up with this type of thing. Cause like when Shannon brought up the whole thing about the Alexis text, say that 5 times fast. And Emily was like, of course, Shannon was like, well, that's between the two of you. And she's like, no, it's not. It's between the 3 of us. And then Emily's like, wait a minute, you're being so hypocritical, because it's like, I can't believe that Emily like stood up for Shannon in that way. Like being like, you're being a hypocrite because you're holding Shannon to this higher standard of like, she's supposed to let all of us know like all of these things. And you're not doing the same thing. Like, you're not holding Alexis to that standard though. Like, so it's just, oh, you're just going to be Team Alexis. Like, fuck Shannon. Okay, there we go. And the way she kept holding up her hand, like a child,
I was gonna say, I almost felt like they weren't close. So I will say that if she was in her face holding up her hand, knowing Tamra, I would say she was trying to bait a physical confrontation.
Oh yeah, no.
Jerseys, but they were separated, because I was like, if she was like closer to her, she would have been hoping Jenn would smack her hand away, and it would be like a bravo.
It was more like dismissive. It was more like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to like dismiss you, but also it was very childish in that sense. And when Shannon was like, no, you leave, no, you goodbye. And then she got up to go to the bathroom and she's like, why are you leaving? And she's like, I'm going to the bathroom. And I was like, I really wish Shannon would have said to her, I'm going to the bathroom. And when I come back, you need to be gone because this is my trip. I really wish she had said something like that, or like, you need to leave. This is my trip. You can leave. Like pulled a Heather on her. This is my trip. You can leave.
Yeah.
I would have loved if Shannon did that.
I was just happy to see what a classic talk to the hand. I haven't seen that one in a while. The putting your hand up to shut somebody up. Like that's straight up like 20 years ago. I'm glad she brought it back. We need to do that again. Talk to the hand.
Who said that this episode about, was it Jenn who said why Tamra was doing these childish things, going bye, putting her hand up when she's a bully, and when she's backed into a corner, she doesn't know how to respond.
She's like a feral cat. That's what Jenn
Yeah,
said.
that's what she said. It's like she either screams, "That's my opinion," or she acts like a child.
Mhm.
She really operates on people being afraid of her.
Mhm.
I wrote I had an entire list of all the times Tamra acted like a child in this episode. The talk to the hand, the like you said, I mean, we haven't gotten to it yet, but the bye or just clapping when she claps at Jen at the end, or even the fucking doorbells on the floor of the hotel. That's something a child does. Ringing every doorbell. Like she's just the entire episode, she's acting like a child.
She is. She's a child. She's like a toddler who needs to be like, look at me, look at me. I'm so cool. I mean, it's Regina George-ish completely. I mean, yeah, when she was like running down the hallway doing that, I was like, how the fuck old are you? Like, oh my gosh. It really was like, look at me, look at me. You tiny little Napoleonic person.
Little gremlin.
Look, I mean,
an evil gnome.
She really is an evil gnome.
She's a Chucky doll.
I mean, she kind of, I don't like to necessarily comment on people's looks and stuff, but she did kind of look like a Chucky doll the next morning when she was getting her blowout with no makeup on. I mean, I was going to say Gollum, and I think other people have said Gollum too, but that's just because also like I dislike her so much, but I'm just like, I mean, but none of us look very good without it. I mean, but
it was very funny when Shannon got up, like you said, to excuse herself to go to the bathroom, because she even had to say when she stood up, she even knew that she has a reputation for leaving when things get awkward. So she said, "I'm just going to the bathroom," because every woman at the table was about to say, "Oh God, she's getting up again."
Yeah, Katie pointed that out too earlier in this episode. She's like, Shannon's issue is that she can't sit for a confrontation. Sorry about that.
Who the fuck has a landline?
I have a full-blown operation here. But what was I gonna say? Oh, Katie had said that Shannon, her issue is she runs away. Like she can't just sit and hold her ground. And anytime things get heated, she storms off. Luckily, I think she specified the bathroom this time because we know she's usually running for a drink.
And yeah, well, she said it fast enough that Tamra didn't get a chance to make a drink comment.
Yeah.
Though there was the thing that came closest is when they were sitting at the table ordering drinks and they got around to Shannon. I'm thinking, oh God, please don't get a drink. Please don't get a drink. And she gets her Belvedere soda, and they immediately cut to Heather and Tamra just rolling their eyes because they wanted to say something, but the looks on their face was just enough.
Yeah.
They're very judgy.
The one thing I do, because I'm like split on Shannon like leaving at times, because I go, yeah, I do think that you should just stay and like talk it out. But then there are also times when everybody's throwing like Shannon can't get a word in edgewise. And people are just throwing this stuff on top of her. And so I also kind of get it as somebody like you get overwhelmed and you're like, I'm trying to bat down all the different accusations or facts that are coming at me. And how do I organize this? And sometimes it's like, I need to get up and leave for a second so I can get my thoughts together and then come back because everything that they're throwing at me. But that doesn't necessarily make great television.
It's the same thing that Heather does that by saying, we'll talk tomorrow. Heather doesn't do a fight in the spur of the moment. So Shannon, they just have different ways of going about it. Shannon, instead of saying, can we do this later?
Yeah, Heather's approach comes from a place of strength and control. She's dismissing you and say, we'll circle back. The problem with Shannon, it's not a problem, but she's the opposite. It looks weak. She gets frazzled and has to bolt for a minute. And I think she can keep walking away. I think she just needs to do it. This time she improved. She said, I'm going to the bathroom. But when she just is like, I'm out of here, you all know the truth. It's like, okay.
It's funny because Dahlia from Bravo Bitch Fest and I just recorded both Shannon Beador and Heather Dubrow astrology episodes on Friday. And so those will be coming out over the next couple of weeks. And we do talk about the differences in their fighting styles and their communication styles based off of what their charts say. and it's to the T, exactly like what both of you are saying is how they process the information, how they deal with confrontation is very different, and it is inherent to who they are. It's not like, to be honest with you, I don't think you're going to change either one of them, like, and make them change that way. So yeah, definitely. I do think the next morning, like, Emily was trying to talk some sense into Tamra, like when they were at getting that juice, the poop juice.
Yeah. Another thing, there's a lot of like especially from Tamra's side, a lot of like childish bathroom things throughout this episode. It just like didn't fit with the episode. It was like she was trying to, hoping to make it.
Well, she's been doing that all season, like sticking her finger in people's butts, peeing on the concrete, like talking about like
one Katie to show her, but like this, her ongoing obsession with butts is a little strange. It's a lot strange. It's a lot strange.
It's a lot strange, and it's very, again, look at me. I'm so crazy and wacky. Like, I'm the fun aunt. Like, I'm the fun housewife here. Like, how can I be mean when I'm so fun and open-minded and willing to talk about butts? No, you're not. You're a dick, and you're trying to distract from being a dick. And I did have a thought, though, too, when Emily was talking to Tamra, because Tamra she's like, I gotta, people need to know. It's like, I've got to bury Shannon in a sense. And I was like, she's like, that's why I have to walk away from Shannon. That's why I have to do this. And I was like, well, but you haven't walked away from Shannon. That's the problem. Because when I'm done with a friendship, I'm done with a friendship. I don't even talk about them anymore. Like, because usually I've already processed talking about them, and I've already talked about them nonstop. And now I'm just done. It's just like with any relationship. Like, so you're not done with her. You want to bury her. You're not over this friendship. In fact, you hate her. There's something about Shannon that you hate so much, you want to bury her. This isn't somebody that you're just done with, because otherwise you just walk away. Indifference is like the worst part of a relationship. That's when you know a relationship is done, and you're not indifferent to her. You hate her.
We do get into, I guess, the highlight of this confrontation in the morning is the background check. We get, I love that scene. Jenn Pedranti did not take an elevator. She served us drama down a hall, up the service stairs. This was physical. This was rage. She stormed up there ready to go. Never seen that from her before.
Yep. I mean, and Shannon had those receipts. She had those pictures ready to go. And there are some people, because also, like, I've seen, I need to not watch the previews for the next week before we've done this episode. But I've kind of seen like the little preview that Bravo shows. And of course, Tamra's thing is like, well, she didn't show her the entire like thread. Of course she didn't, because Shannon is tactical. She's only going to show what she needs to show. Yet at the same time, back in 2022, Shannon was not Jen's friend. Jenn was Tamra's friend. So like, you guys were supposedly friends. Like, Shannon wasn't friends with Jenn then. Like, Shannon couldn't give a shit. So, but Shannon is now friends with Jenn, and you're claiming to be friends with Jenn, and you have been friends with Jenn for a long time. So your loyalty should have been to Jenn. You could have easily told, Shannon to stop, and then that would have made you look like the good cop here. You know what I mean? But you didn't. In fact, you were feeding this information to Shannon, who's reacting to it. That's my opinion. So far from what I've seen. But I love the fact that Shannon was like, you know what? You keep playing down this stuff, Tamra. So she's fighting fire with fire is what she's doing. She's like, you think Jenn is dumb? You think I am dumb? Well, here you go. It's time.
Shannon was her face when she was so excited. First of all, I think it seems like in these past 2 weeks she's just discovered text search.
I was just gonna say, she's going back pretty far for these texts. Wow, that's Tamra's worst nightmare, is Shannon figuring out how to find old text.
I wonder if Tamra operated all these years knowing Shannon doesn't understand how phones work.
Yeah, I think she has, because also this is the thing. Tamra tries to pretend like she doesn't know how phones work, that she doesn't know how social media works or any of that. I just was saying, I forgot about I forgot that I was on a podcast when I told Teddy that I think that I'm autistic. No, you didn't, girl. You know exactly what you were doing. Stop playing stupid. Like, no. So but I bet you $1 million that it was one of Shannon's daughters that was like, Mom, you know, you can search your text messages for this stuff. And she was like, what? And it was like Adelaide or Stella was like, here you go. Da, da, da. And she was like, ah. And she's like, and this is how you do a screenshot. Here you go.
It was pretty weird. Not weird. It was actually another example of Tamra being a little she swears that she and like
life.
yeah, she swears on her children's life that she did not run a background check on Ryan. And then literally in less than 60 seconds goes, oh, well, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Swearing on your children's points to Sydney.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. This is why anytime a housewife swears on their children's life or their husband's life or just any of that, I know that they're lying. That's why anybody who does that, period, I know that they're lying. I'm like, you're lying automatically. Yeah. But that's a perfect example right there. Then 60 seconds. Oh, well, that was 2 years ago. Really?
The background check she ran, what was it, like a real to see if he was more licensed?
Yeah. She said she asked her mortgage broker friends if they had heard of Ryan, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a lie too. Like, that's not what that text message said at all. You know what I mean? Because that's not what that text message said. So she's just lying. She's like, it makes me think of this season of Love is Blind. So anybody who's watching Love is Blind, any of our listeners who's watching Love is Blind this season, they'll understand. Tamra reminds me of Tyler, who will just fucking lie so coolly and calmly to somebody's face. This man, Tyler, has lied to his fiance more than once that he has children and that he knows and that his children know what he looks like and have met him. She's asked him point blank, do your children know what you look like? And he's like, I don't think so. They're literally pictures of him with his children. Multiple times. He's like, I spend Christmases alone. There are pictures of him with his children and his children's mother at Christmas time last year. Like, he literally lies to this woman's face. So Tamra and Tyler, same person, literally lie to your face. Like, yeah. Cannot believe a thing that she says. And then she's like, oh, and then she's getting mad at Jenn. She's like, again, the whole thing of like, Jenn is a great housewife because she's a housewife. And Tamra's so upset at that. And it's like, what does Jen do? And then Jen's like, what does Eddie do? Oh, he wins a multi-million-dollar. Really? Everybody's like, what?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about Eddie except didn't their gym like close or something? Like, what is this multi-million-dollar business?
She has a weed line, which by the way, I have looked into. It might be successful, but she's not the sole owner. She's not the founder. It's a division within a larger company. So it's a housewife brand partnership. Yeah. She did not found and own.
And it's a CBD line too. And somebody was saying, I've seen a few comments of like people, like there was one person who commented like that they used to work in a Sally Beauty supply because that was a big thing. They got into Sally Beauty with their CBD line. And she's like, it never sold. It just collected dust.
That's the weirdest thing about this whole season, that Jen's taking all these shots about, being poor. Everybody's pocket watching Jenn, everything she spends. Outside of Heather, none of these women are particularly wealthy. Like they all live outside their means, but Jen's the only one that actually admits. Well, I guess Gina does to an extent, but Jen's like, yeah, I live outside my means. My bad. But everybody else just hides it.
Yeah, I mean, I did. Shannon. I mean, Tamra pointed it out, but we knew Shannon, lives season to season, kind of. Yeah. She doesn't have the same support of her marriage.
Shannon even admitted to downsizing her house, over the year. This past year, she downsized. So that's an admission there.
Tamra, Emily, Her husband's family
What does he
has
do?
money.
Okay. Okay.
Her husband's
I
family
mean,
has
and Matt,
money.
Katie's
So.
husband, Matt. I mean, he's a commentator for the golf. I don't. He's for a golf network. I don't know if it's the golf network, but like, so I'm sure they have money, but they're not like Heather and Terry wealthy.
Right. Heather and Terry are the only ones who are truly wealthy on this show. The others are like upper middle class.
Yeah. No, nobody's well,
That's
except
all.
for Jenn. Nobody's struggling, but they're not. Maybe I'm just so used to Beverly Hills where they're like legit wealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, like I was thinking about that. Don't want to do it, but like with the big deal over the $600 Burberry scarves, it was like Beverly Hills wouldn't care about those scarves. It wouldn't be a talking point. But
exactly. And well, something to kind of go back to, like, because I just have it in my notes. It's like, because Tamra said something to the effect of like, Shannon, basically like, if you want to get at me, like, don't send somebody stupid like Jenn. And I was like, Jenn's not stupid. In fact, maybe she is the smartest one of all of you, because she has taken her time, because she has sat back and she has kind of watched. She's taken her hits, she's taken her licks, and she's watching all of you. And because maybe she isn't the richest one here, but she's like learned. Like, I think in that sense, that's why I always want to give Housewives at least 2 seasons to see like how they do. Like, she didn't come in hot like Katie did. You know what I mean? Trying to get at Heather or anything like that. Like, she came in like sweet and all this stuff. And this season, like, she's just showing kind of more of who she is. And she might be the smartest one of like taking her time and almost like really winning over the public in that sense of like make the public love you, make the fans love you, make the fans really root for you. Make the bully look really bad just by being the bigger person and being the nicer person in a way that Tamra can never do that. So I think Jenn is the smartest one of all of them.
She got, for the big finale of this episode, she got the most subtle, deepest cutting dig in at Tamra when she said, "My kids are with me and they're happy." That was a shot at Tamra's family situation. And what did she do? She turned to Heather and said, "She's only your friend because you're in front of her right now."
Yep.
But that line about the kids, "My kids are happy and they're with me." Oops.
And it was so subtle because Tamra can't say, "Oh, you said something about Sydney." I didn't say anything about Sydney.
Because
I
remember
talked about
that
my children.
That happened on what, a trip to, is that when, didn't Tamra hit Kelly on the trip to, was
Ireland.
it Kelly Dodd? Trip to Ireland, because I think Kelly, so basically we're back in the British Isles. And Kelly made a remark about Tamra not speaking to her kids, and I think she hit her off camera. And
then she had that meltdown in the Sprinter van.
Yeah. So that was definitely a Housewives delivery. She can play dumb the same way Tamra does. Oh, I just meant my kids are happy. That's my opinion. My kids are happy.
They're happy. My kids are with me and they are happy.
Yeah.
Suck on that, Tam.
Well, this is a continued episode, so we're going to get more. It was a to be continued.
I don't understand that, to be honest with you. They're always to be continued until the end of the fucking season. This is not to be continued. Like, this is an episode.
Unless they spend the rest of the season in London, which would be very funny if like there's 8 episodes in London.
I'm fine with that. I'm learning more. Where do I want to go eat? What do I want to go see? Not going to Anne Fontaine to shop. No.
Oh my God.
Anywho, well, make sure you listen to at the end of this week. Make sure you're subscribed, especially on YouTube. Don't forget about YouTube, y'all. We're 15 people away from my 500 that we want of subscribers. But the Shannon Beador Part 1 astrology episode is coming out. So you want to know more about Shannon? What makes her tick? What makes her so weird and kooky? What makes you hate her? What makes you love her? It's all in the episode. Watch it. Subscribe. Follow us. What are all our details, Jordan? Tell the listeners. Tell the people.
Yeah, hit us up. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Pretty Corrupt Podcast. On Twitter, Pretty Corrupt One.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. Leave us a comment if you want to hear, I don't know, different stuff. I don't know. Whatever the things are.
Who
How do
wants to
people
say goodbye?
Good day, mate. That's British,
God.
right? It's English? No?
It's something.
It's an English colony. Does that count?
Oh, Lord.